I'm dump some of these photos and see what we got.
Cool.
Maybe even upload them to whatever, because we've basically been like, we had this great show.
Yeah.
I have no photos.
Yeah.
And plus I want to see what Matt captured of the night of the show. Okay, so now we've entered the Transcendence, where obviously we've entered a realm of pure vibration, where everything is constantly in flux, space and time are no longer... Can we start over, obviously?
Sure.
Can't move around too much. These wires are invisible, I always forget.
All right, take two.
Take two.
Wait a minute. Let me pull out.
Do we need different audio levels or anything?
No,
Good.
it's going to be fine.
Cool.
It's a really directional
Shotgun,
mic.
yeah, all right,
We're rolling.
Cool. Okay, so obviously now we've entered the Transcendence, a room where, as I was saying, three-dimensional reality no longer exists in the way that we think of it right now. Our reductive bodies that basically filter this consciousness through has expanded through genius and then eventually through the manifestation or the mature level of oneness or group soul. The mature level of group soul and unity has led us to the mature version of the oneness that we experience. That we're now back up on the other side of the arc of total freedom and total spirit. We've gone all the way back up from materialism and constraint to total freedom, total spirit, where obviously the realm is just pure vibration and we no longer need anything to limit us anymore. So the reason I chose a three-dimensional structure as opposed to just a simple painting anymore is the painting represents the realm that we've been living in. If I was still in this realm, I would be experiencing reality as a two-dimensional creature. Well, where this dragon goes through that two-dimensional plane, it would just appear as kind of blobs, circular things floating in space. As a two-dimensional creature, I would not even be able to conceive of what three dimensions even is. Never heard of it. Maybe I can imagine it, but I have no idea how to even conceive of it. So basically what happens is us in three dimensions can therefore not ever imagine what a beyond three-dimensional creature looks like, feels like, or is. The cool thing though is we can feel it. Just like we can't really imagine what was before consciousness evolved objectivity and we started in room number 1. We can't really understand what to be a truly instinctual animal is. That's why dogs and animals are so fascinating to us, because it's like, wow, how does their brains even work? Well, in the same way we can't imagine the mature version of that because it's a transcendence up and out of that. But we can feel it. We empathize with those animals because we can kind of feel when we look into the eyes of an ape like a certain sameness. Well, we can definitely feel, and that's why things like heaven, it has existed since the beginning of time. We've been a religious animal from the beginning, you know what I mean? And we can imagine this ultimate destiny of transcendence, but we just can't really imagine it. So it's a very fascinating type of thing. So anyway, this three-dimensional figure, as it's breaking these dimensions and going into a whole other realm of reality, has become the merger of the man and the dragon. Like I said, it is the resolution of that half-dragon human embryo that is being grown out of the hand of the woman in room number 6, the manifestation, is now come to full fruition, and by that merging of no longer chasing enlightenment and uber consciousness, but becoming those concepts, we can shed three-dimensional reality and go into something that's back into total freedom, total just pure vibration, and experience life on a completely different plane. So the bottom side of the painting is painted as basically the vastness of space as far as human beings can even understand it technologically. The top side is painted as an abstract Big Bang, using the idea of art to get out the concept of yet another new beginning, but as big as we can even conceive of it in 3 dimensions. And the sculptural element represents the actuality of those concepts that are very just still as far-reaching and esoteric as we can even get in our brains, as far as we can even stretch our brains. the crazy awesome thing about this is once we resolve this, we've resolved our sevenfold structure of change. We have appropriately shepherded this consciousness through a process of change to have it mature, to take it back home from whence we've all come. Whether you think of that as what was before the Big Bang or heaven, it is that concept that has been with us and has guided us the whole way. A crazy thing is, if you think about our sevenfold structure, and the reason I loved the reflexive universe as an example is it works on a macrocosmic level as well. In that you have freedom, constraint, and freedom. Immature level all the way through to a mature level. Well, if you think about it on the level of our cosmos, our universe altogether, 3 dimensions as we can even conceive of it, the most free thing that started everything was the concept of let there be light. Whether you think of it as God turning the light switch on or the Big Bang, it is just pure potential. It is like room number 1, where it's just a newness that is totally free, but is still nothing. Like light is just little packets of energy. It's not even physical matter yet. So it has to lose a little bit of that freedom, gain some more materialism, go away from that spirit to something more constrained, and form subatomic particles, which is cool, but they're blipping in and out of existence, and they're just kind of more waves of possibility than they are matter in a certain way. So they have to organize a higher level, different strata, and get more constrained and more material and form atoms. Okay, so now there's stuff. There's stuff in this universe. It's not just this big realm of potential. But atoms are just, it would be a billiard ball universe just banging into each other in just this hot mess of temperature-oriented single things bouncing around. Well, those have to form a higher level of organization to form even more articulate structures, so they form long chains of molecules, all different varieties, which is awesome. So now you have compositional structures, matter, like crystals and things like that. But we would just have a crystalline universe where temperature would dictate that those molecules either bust apart, or it's cold enough that it's hot enough that they bust apart, or it's cold enough that they stick together. Well, the cool thing is we've gone all the way down our arc now, so we're at the most material and most constrained. Crystals are so highly organized that the structure is so perfect that it's just kind of dead. So what has to come into our play here? Oh, consciousness. Okay, that's going to be what animates those forms and that structures. Well, how does that happen? Well, if you take the range of temperatures, even from what Arthur M. Young uses in his book, is say the surface of the sun all the way down to 0 degrees Kelvin. That is a ridiculously vast range of temperatures. It's just unbelievably vast. Well, there's a tiny sliver of temperatures in that vast range where molecules are in a realm where it's not hot enough to make it bust apart and not cold enough to make them stick together rigidly. So, because time is linear and something has to happen, the molecules have to develop sort of the first very basic levels of deciding for themselves what they want to do. Not in any way that we think of, but on that very base level, the first inklings of consciousness and will started to come into play. And the molecules themselves decided, well, I want to bust apart, or I want to go stick together. Well, that tiny range of temperatures exists on the planet Earth.